Hey ladies and gentlemen, Christoph the Polish Geek, and welcome to another movie review, and this one is important. It's Mavka, the Forest Song. It's a new Ukrainian animated movie that apparently in Ukraine has been out already in March, but here in Poland came out when I was on vacation, so this is important to review because I have some personal history with Ukraine. I lived in Ukraine for 5 years when I was much younger. My dad happened to have a job there, so yeah, we lived in Ukraine for 5 years, and then later my dad got a new job, and my parents and my family moved back to Poland, while I was sent to a boarding school in the United States, which were some of the best years of my life, by the way. But that's ultimately a different story. So yes, me and my parents lived in Ukraine for 5 years. Not my sister; she was already in college in Paris by that time. So yes, I have some very personal history with Ukraine, and it's really awful this war is going on. I have some friends from both Ukraine and Russia, and I really wish this war will be over soon. Because what's happening now is really, really sad. But I decided to watch this movie, and I'm not sure if this movie would really be even out all over the world if not for the war. It's largely out to support Ukraine, but I think it's a very important movie to watch. Is it a great movie though? I can't say it. It's not bad, it's actually quite good, and I enjoy myself. The characters are likable, the story is very predictable, but kind of enjoyable. But no, I can't silly say the movie is particularly great. But it's still a good time. But still a pretty good time for the whole family to enjoy, especially if kids will really enjoy it. A good comparison to this movie that I can think of is Princess Mononoke by Miyazaki. Princess Mononoke is a much better movie than this. This movie is a far more black and white version of Princess Mononoke. This is Princess Mononoke is a lot more gray area. This movie has a very clear division between good guys, bad guys. But still, it was still an enjoyable time nonetheless. The story is that Mavka is a guardian of the forest. So Mavka is the forest guardian, and then she falls in love with a human, Łukasz, and she feels like she has conflicting duty of protecting the forest, but also being in love with a human, because in this movie, humans are very much not allowed in the forest. In fact, this is one of those classic movies of humans versus nature, except that, as I described in Princess Mononoke, but this movie has a much clearer division between good guys and bad guys. I'm glad that not all humans are bad, and in fact the movie thankfully ends with, again, humans and nature agreeing to live together in harmony, but there is a definite clear villain here in contrast to Princess Mononoke, and the animation of the movie is decent. I can't say it's perfect, maybe because of the recent amazing animations I've seen, but it was decent, and I really liked all the green scenery, especially the green grass and green trees. That was actually pretty well done, and the colors of animation in this movie are actually pretty good. And as I said, I think the characters are pretty likable. Łukasz, the main character, he's likable, as is Mavka. And I really although she's certainly very one-dimensional, she's one of those pure good characters that are just overly good. But sometimes being so one-dimensional is not necessarily always a bad thing. So I actually liked Mavka and how she believes in goodness of everyone, even though I do think it was pretty naive of her. Another thing pretty enjoyable in this movie was how it was obvious it was very much Ukrainian culture. I lived in Ukraine for 5 years, as I already said in the beginning of this review, and I totally got a vibe like it was Ukraine in this movie. And the musical score of the movie is actually quite good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And although I have to say though that ultimately it's a good, enjoyable movie that I think the whole family can enjoy, but ultimately don't expect anything groundbreaking. Because of the high quality animated movies we got this year, Suzume, Across the Spider-Verse, and even the Super Mario Bros. Movie, this movie is a good animated movie for the whole family, but it isn't particularly groundbreaking. Although I do think, especially if you have kids, it is important to see with the current situation. I compared the movie to Princess Mononoke, but there is also a fun, interesting thing. The movie is actually based on a poem by a famous Ukrainian poet and playwright, Lesia Ukrainka, and she actually wrote the original play. When I lived in Ukraine, like long time ago, I was like 13 years old. I actually went to see this play with my mom, and although the play was really good, I have to say it certainly wasn't as happy as the movie, quite the opposite. The play ended on a very sad and depressing note, in contrast to the movie that had a classic like happily ever after ending, kind of the Disney style. Oh well, it's kind of natural, considering this is the movie that's very much made for kids first. I suppose it's natural that they changed the sad and depressing ending of the play to the happily ever after ending. Okay, so here are my thoughts on Mavka, the Forest Song. I think it's a good movie for the whole family to enjoy, and it is kind of important to see in the current political situation. And movie, press the like button, please subscribe to this channel, and I will talk to you soon in another video. Talk to you later, bye!